Hello again and welcome back. It's been a while that I didn't post, mainly because I'm traveling. This is why you don't see the usual background, the white wall. I'm basically in a tent right now, just exploring the wilderness, but I want to stay constant and post as much videos that I can. So, excuse me the sitting. God and masturbation, and this whole idea of sin. A sin being something bad that a believer or any person really shouldn't be doing comes actually with a lot of questions. The very first question that falls into your mind is, if God really didn't want us to do such behavior, why did he give us the capability of doing so? If this behavior, for example, beating your meat, is such hated by the Lord himself, why did he actually made us able to do it? Or I believe this would be a logical contradiction, because the behavior itself wouldn't exist unless there is somebody who is able to do it, right? So masturbation itself wouldn't be able to exist unless there are people that are already humans in existence who are capable of doing such thing. But here's the problem again. God, being omnipotent and omniscient, he knew if he created humans this way, they would be able to play around with their reproductive organs. So he could have been omnipotent and omniscient, he could have do it other way. But this is my problem here. We have an omnipotent God and omniscient God who knows that we would be doing this in our lives. And omnipotent, he could have created this other way without being able to do such thing, but still decided to not do it. And being all good again, omnibenevolent, punishes us for doing so, for an eternity of hellfire. Those three attributes actually, I don't think that they go hand in hand at the same time. Omnipotence, omniscience, and omnibenevolence cannot join hands and be at the same time. We cannot have a being that has those three attributes at the same time regarding our human condition. For example, we have a God that has a desire for us to all make it to heaven, right? Since he is omnibenevolent. But at the same time, he fails. Of course, there are people that are bad. If he fails, therefore God fails. We have a God that wants you to go to heaven, wants all humans to go to heaven. But no, some people must necessarily go to hell. Hell was not created to stay empty, right? Therefore, we can say that God actually failed in reaching his desired goal. Therefore, we can tell that God is not omnipotent, right? Somebody might say that no, God actually built heaven and hell for people that actually are deserving of such places. Okay, but how would he know the people that are deserving of this place and people that are deserving of the other place? They would say that he tests them. He just tests them in their lives on earth, right? But this particular thing, actually, the test, emphasizes the point that God is not omniscient, because God, if he needs a test, if he needs a demonstration of somebody's behavior on earth, it only means that God didn't know the future. God is not omniscient, which is the definition of God knowing anything. Because if he was omniscient to begin with, he wouldn't need such demonstration or test to know what would happen. So I think that those three attributes can never go hand in hand in the angle of our human condition. If God was omnibenevolent, omniscient, omnipotent, God sees evil. Like, there is pain in creation. He is omniscient. He could see that if he created humans this way, if he started a chain of cause and events in the universe, it would lead to evolution, or it would lead to creation, whatever. He would create humans, let's just do not say evolution. He would create humans and they would be capable of pain. He is omniscient. He knows this before it happens. And he is omnipotent, right? He could have done it other way. And he is omnibenevolent. He wants good. So if he wants good, he could have dodged all the evil that's happening. He could have made us not capable of pain and created us in another way, since he knew it, and since he is capable of it, right? So God actually creating you with the capability of sin, the capability of stealing, of lying, of committing adultery, of saying bad words, and all of those stuffs, is actually something which is actually contradictory, because God knew that you would be doing it, yet he gave you the capability of doing it. It's like he is playing with us. He's playing with us. For example, I made a phone, right? And at the same time, I knew that I could make a button in this phone that if the user pushes it, the phone gets corrupted and gets destroyed and gets defiled. He is no longer a pure phone. Would I make this button? Of course not. I would never make such a button that would corrupt my phone. I would make my phone as perfect as much as I can. Of course I cannot, of course, because I'm not omnipotent. But God is. God right now created a human, and this human is not perfect. He gave him this button that he could use, masturbation, that would corrupt him, defile him, and made him impure. And he knew that he would be using this button again and again and again. And this particular usage of this button would corrupt him or her and deny him or her an eternity in the kingdom of heaven, yet he still created it. Those are games. Those are just games. This cannot be the case. This definitely cannot be the case. A God like this is simply doesn't exist, or he is a sick type of God, a sick, narcissistic, psychopathic who enjoys the suffering of people. People still don't get it. Those things are made up. Those things are made up. They are made up like this charger over here. They're just made up. People made them up for power and to be able to make sense of the world around them and to unite people and various of other desired goals. So this idea of making people or making humans capable of sin while being omniscient, that I already know that they would commit sin, and I'm actually waiting for them or expecting them to behave well while I already know that they wouldn't, and still put them in an eternity of hellfire, is simply a dumb idea that sadly people still actually trust. I've already argued in another video that the idea of testing, creating humans to test them, is logically flawed, because we cannot create someone and test it. For example, I cannot create a machine in order for me to test it. I create a machine to do some specific task. Whether it does it well or it doesn't do it well, it's entirely my own responsibility, for I am the maker. But God over here doesn't actually take responsibility of the flawed humans that he created, but actually put the responsibility on their shoulders and throw them in an eternity of hellfire. Me creating a machine, it means that I have a need of some specific task being done by the machine. It doesn't mean that the machine actually needs me. It is I who needs the machine, otherwise I wouldn't create it. So people who say that we need God, it is the other way around, because you do not exist and there is a point that you have started in existence. Me making something, it is I who need that thing, not the other way around. How could God precede us, presumably in time, and us needing him being the case? It cannot be this way. Of course, a machine doesn't precede me in time. It is I who precedes the machine in time. Therefore, when I make the machine, it is only I that needs the machine to perform some specific task. But when you say that God actually created people in order for them to be tested, whether they are good or they are not, or they are bad, whether they are worthy of the kingdom of heaven or they are worthy of deserving of punishment. It only seems to me, under the three attributes of God, that God is only playing with us. He knew definitely that I would be bad. He knew definitely that I would go to hell, yet he proceeded in creating me, regardless of his knowledge and his capability of acting otherwise. Us being created for a test is the equivalent of me grabbing a baby and throwing him off of a cliff to test him whether he can fly or not. If he could fly, he saved himself. If he couldn't, well, he got punished because he couldn't fly. Do you see the problem here? Do you see what other people believe? How indoctrinated, how brainwashing. So God actually creating us with the capability of sin is as though God wants us to run, but at the same time chains our legs with those weights. But He wants us to run. He wants us to run. He wants us to win in the race, but at the same time He chains our legs with weights. Do you understand the problem here? Simply, if I was a creator, I would never create something that would eventually self-destroy itself. I would never do that. I would never create a machine that is able to self-destroy itself. I would never do that. I would never create something that can corrupt itself, that it can no longer work as I want it to work. It would be very stupid for me to do so as a creator. But anyway, that was all for today. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one.